Chapter 1, The Storm That Brought Him. You ever have something taken from you that you can never get back? Not money, not pride, but the one thing that makes you feel whole. That was Seraphine's curse. The day her healer said she'd never bear a child, her mate turned away without a word. She thought no one would ever look at her again with love, until an alpha who should have hated her from the beginning looked at her like he already knew her secret. Before I go further, tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and if you're hooked already, a like and subscribe will keep these stories coming. The rain came down in sheets the night Seraphine ran. Not the soft kind that whispers against windows. This was the kind that punished. Cold. Heavy. The kind that soaked through clothes in seconds and turned dirt roads into rivers of mud. She didn't care. She welcomed it. Maybe if she stayed out here long enough, the storm would wash her away entirely. Maybe that would be easier than facing another dawn in a pack that looked at her like she was already dead. Her feet slipped on wet grass as she stumbled through the forest bordering shadow pine territory. The trees here were older, thicker. Their branches twisted overhead like skeletal fingers reaching for something they'd never touch. Every step sent a jolt of pain through her bare feet. She'd left her shoes behind. Left everything behind. The small cabin on the edge of the pack grounds. The few belongings she'd managed to keep after Davienne threw her out. The life she thought she'd have. Gone. All of it. Gone. Her chest heaved as she pressed her back against a tree, bark digging into her spine through the thin fabric of her dress. The dress she'd worn to the healer's cottage that morning. White cotton. Simple. She'd thought it would be a routine visit. Maybe some herbs for the headaches she'd been having. Maybe a tonic to help her sleep. She hadn't expected the healer's face to go pale. Hadn't expected the woman to take her hand with that pitying look. Hadn't expected the words that would end everything. I'm sorry, Seraphine. Your womb is damaged. You'll never carry a child. 4 hours. That's all it took for her entire world to collapse. 4 hours between the healer's verdict and Davienne's rejection. He hadn't even waited until they were alone. He'd said it right there in the pack common hall, in front of everyone. His voice cold. Final. I, Davienne Thorne, reject you, Seraphine Vale, as my mate. The bond had snapped like a rope pulled too tight. She'd felt it tear through her chest, a physical pain so sharp she'd dropped to her knees. No one helped her up. They just watched. Whispered. Some looked sorry. Most looked relieved. As if her curse might be contagious. A branch snapped somewhere to her left. Seraphine's head jerked up, her wolf stirring for the first time since the rejection. Weak. Broken. But still there. The rain made it hard to see, hard to scent anything but wet earth and pine. She pushed off the tree and started moving again, faster now. She didn't know where she was going. Just away. Always away. Another sound. Closer this time. Footsteps. Deliberate. Not trying to hide. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Rogues. It had to be rogues. She'd crossed into the neutral zone between Shadow Pine and Iron Ridge territories. Dangerous land. Empty land. The kind of place where wolves who'd been cast out came to die. Maybe that's what she was now. A rogue. Packless. Mateless. Worthless. The footsteps stopped. She stopped too, breath caught in her throat. The rain pounded against the canopy above, 1,000 tiny drums. Her wolf whimpered. Told her to run. But her legs wouldn't move. Fear locked her in place like roots growing through her feet. You're a long way from home. The voice came from behind her. Male. Deep. Calm in a way that made the hair on her arms stand up. Seraphine spun around, nearly losing her balance on the slick ground. Through the rain and darkness, she could barely make out the figure standing 10 feet away. Tall. Broad-shouldered. The way he held himself, utterly still, reminded her of a predator deciding whether its prey was worth the chase. I don't have a home. Her voice came out rougher than she meant. Raw from crying. From screaming into her pillow when Davienne walked away like she'd never mattered at all. The man tilted his head slightly. That's so. She couldn't see his face clearly, but she could feel his eyes on her. Studying. Weighing. Her instinct screamed at her to submit, to lower her gaze. This was an alpha. She knew it in her bones. The power radiating off him was unmistakable. I'm not looking for trouble, she said, taking a step back. Her heel caught on a root and she stumbled. This time she did fall, landing hard on her side in the mud. Pain shot through her hip. She bit down on her lip to keep from crying out. Before she could push herself up, he was there. Right there. Crouching beside her. Up close, even in the dark and rain, she could see him better. Sharp features. Dark hair plastered to his forehead. Eyes that caught what little light filtered through the storm. Gray. Like smoke. He reached out. She flinched. His hand froze mid-air. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then slowly, carefully, he lowered his hand and sat back on his heels. You're hurt, he said. Not a question. A statement. I'm fine. You're bleeding. She looked down. Her dress was torn at the knee, a dark stain spreading across the white fabric. She hadn't even felt it happen. Couldn't feel much of anything anymore except the hollow ache where her bond used to be. It doesn't matter, she said. Doesn't it? Something in his tone made her look up. Meet those gray eyes. There was no pity there. No disgust. Just curiosity. Like she was a puzzle he hadn't figured out yet. Who are you? She asked. Malric. He said it simply. As if the name didn't carry weight. As if every wolf within 100 miles didn't know exactly who he was. Alpha of Iron Ridge. The pack that had held the northern mountains for 3 generations. Ruthless in battle. Unforgiving to enemies. And according to every rumor she'd ever heard, completely uninterested in taking a mate. Her stomach dropped. I didn't mean to cross into your territory. I'll leave. You're not in my territory. He gestured behind him, toward the darker line of trees in the distance. That's Iron Ridge. You're still in the neutral zone. Barely. Oh. She didn't know what else to say. Didn't know why he was still crouching there in the rain, looking at her like she wasn't a broken thing to be discarded. What's your name? She hesitated. Giving her name felt like giving away the last piece of herself she had left. But what did it matter? Seraphine. Seraphine. He repeated it slowly, like he was tasting it. What are you running from, Seraphine? Everything. He waited. Didn't push. Just waited. And maybe it was because she was so tired. Maybe it was because he was a stranger who didn't know her story, didn't know what she'd lost. Maybe it was because the rain was so loud she could pretend none of this was real. But the words came anyway. My mate rejected me today. Her voice cracked. My pack, they don't want me anymore. I can't give them what they need. So I left. What did they need? She laughed. It came out bitter and sharp. A womb that works. Children to strengthen the bloodline. A Luna who isn't defective. Silence. Just the rain. Just her heart beating too fast. Then Malric stood. Extended his hand again. Come with me. She stared at his hand. Strong. Scarred across the knuckles. Why? Because you're soaked. Injured. And if you stay out here much longer, you'll either freeze or something worse will find you. He flexed his fingers slightly. An invitation. Not a command. I'm offering you shelter. Nothing more. Nothing less. I don't need your pity. Good. I don't pity you. His eyes held hers. I'm offering you a choice. Take it or don't. But decide quickly. My patience has limits and this rain is getting old. A choice. When was the last time someone gave her a choice? Seraphine reached up and took his hand. His grip was firm but careful, and he pulled her to her feet like she weighed nothing. The moment she was steady, he let go. Stepped back. Gave her space. Can you walk? He asked. She nodded, not trusting her voice. Then follow me. Stay close. The neutral zone isn't safe after dark. He turned and started walking, his pace steady but not rushed. She followed, limping slightly on her injured leg. The rain continued its assault, but somehow it felt less punishing now. Less like the world was trying to wash her away. They walked for what felt like hours, but was probably only 20 minutes. The trees gradually changed, grew taller and more spaced out. The ground became rockier. And then through the rain, she saw lights. Warm. Yellow. Coming from windows set into a massive lodge built into the side of a cliff. Iron Ridge. She was really going into Iron Ridge territory. Her wolf stirred again. Nervous. But not afraid. Not of him. Malric led her up a stone path to a side entrance, away from the main doors. He pushed it open and stepped inside, holding it for her. She hesitated on the threshold, water dripping from her clothes onto the stone step. "No one will hurt you here," he said quietly. "You have my word." She believed him. And that scared her almost as much as everything else. Seraphine stepped inside. The warmth hit her immediately. A fire crackled somewhere nearby. The walls were rough-hewn wood, decorated with woven tapestries and mounted antlers. Everything smelled like pine smoke and something else. Something wild and clean. Pack scent. But different from shadow pines. Stronger. More united. A woman appeared from a doorway to the right. Older, with silver threading through her dark hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She took one look at Seraphine, and her expression shifted from confusion to concern. "Goddess above, Malric, what happened?" "She needs dry clothes, food, and somewhere to rest." His tone left no room for argument. "Can you handle that, Iris?" The woman, Iris, nodded immediately. "Of course." She moved toward Seraphine, her hands outstretched but not touching. "Come with me, dear. Let's get you out of those wet things before you catch your death." Seraphine glanced back at Malric. He was already turning away, heading toward another part of the lodge. But he paused. Looked over his shoulder. "Rest tonight," he said. "We'll talk in the morning." Then he was gone, disappearing around a corner like smoke. Iris clicked her tongue. "Don't mind him. He's gruff, but he's got a good heart. Now come on, let's get you sorted." She led Seraphine down a hallway lined with closed doors, then up a narrow staircase to a second floor. The room she opened was small but comfortable. A bed with thick blankets. A window overlooking the forest. A fireplace where logs were already laid, waiting to be lit. "I'll bring you some clothes," Iris said, moving to light the fire. "And I'll have someone bring up a meal. You look half-starved, if you don't mind me saying." "I don't. I can't pay you." The words felt like shards of glass in her throat. "I don't have anything." Iris straightened, fire crackling to life behind her. She crossed the small room and placed a warm hand on Seraphine's shoulder. "Child, Malric doesn't help people because he expects payment. He does it because it's right. Now sit down before you fall down." Seraphine's legs gave out. She sank onto the edge of the bed, her whole body starting to shake now that she was out of the cold. Shock setting in. Everything that had happened today crashing over her like a second wave. Iris disappeared and returned minutes later with a pile of soft clothes and a towel. "Change into these. I'll be back with food." When she was alone, Seraphine peeled off her ruined dress with numb fingers. The white cotton was gray now, stained with mud and blood and everything she'd lost. She dropped it on the floor and dried herself with the towel, then pulled on the clothes Iris had brought. Loose pants. A soft sweater. Both too big, but warm. Blessedly warm. She sat back down on the bed and stared at the fire. This morning she'd woken up as Davienne's mate. As a member of Shadow Pine. As someone with a future, however uncertain. Tonight she was nothing. No one. A ghost haunting someone else's territory. A knock at the door made her jump. "It's just me," Iris called. She entered carrying a tray loaded with bread, cheese, sliced meat, and a bowl of soup that smelled like heaven. "Eat what you can. Don't force it." She set the tray on the small table by the window and moved toward the door. Then paused. Turned back. "That mark on your neck," she said carefully. "The rejection mark. How fresh is it?" Seraphine's hand flew to her throat, covering the spot where Davienne's mark had been. Where now there was only a faint, irregular scar. The physical proof of a bond broken. "Today. This afternoon." Iris's expression softened. "Then you're still healing. The pain will fade. Maybe not today. Maybe not for a long while. But it will fade." "How do you know?" "Because I've seen it before." She smiled sadly. Rest, child. Tomorrow will be easier than today. And the day after easier still. She left, closing the door softly behind her. Seraphine stared at the food. Her stomach churned, but she forced herself to eat a few bites of bread. Drink some of the soup. It was good. Better than anything she'd had in months. Seraphine had been struggling lately. Food rationed. Resources tight. One more reason they didn't want a barren Luna. She pushed the thought away. Finished what she could. Then crawled under the blankets and let the warmth of the fire lull her into something resembling peace. But sleep didn't come easy. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Davien's face. Heard his voice. Felt the bond snap all over again. So she lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the rain finally start to ease outside her window, and wondered what the hell she was supposed to do now. Somewhere in the lodge, a door opened and closed. Footsteps moved down a hallway. She heard voices, muffled and low. Malric's voice. Another man's. They were arguing about something, but she couldn't make out the words. Then silence again. Seraphine rolled onto her side, pulling the blanket up to her chin. Her wolf was quiet now. Exhausted. They both were. She thought about Malric's eyes. The way he'd looked at her in the rain. Not with pity. Not with disgust. Just seeing her. Really seeing her. No one had looked at her like that in a long time. Maybe not ever. Her eyes finally started to drift closed. Sleep pulling her under. But just before she fell completely, she heard it. A sound outside her door. Soft. Deliberate. Footsteps. Stopping right outside her room. She held her breath. Waited. The footsteps moved on. Faded down the hall. But something told her they'd been there for a reason. Someone checking on her. Making sure she was still there. Still safe. Seraphine closed her eyes and let sleep take her. When she woke, the room was still dark. The fire had burned down to embers. But she wasn't alone. Someone was sitting in the chair by the window. A silhouette against the faint pre-dawn light seeping through the glass. Her heart lurched. Her wolf snarled, coming awake instantly. Easy. Malric's voice. Calm. Steady. You were dreaming. I heard you from downstairs. She sat up slowly, clutching the blanket. What are you doing here? Making sure you didn't run. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. In the dim light, his face was all shadows and sharp edges. You strike me as someone who runs. I don't run. The lie tasted bitter. No. A hint of amusement in his tone. Then what were you doing in the neutral zone last night, soaked to the bone and bleeding? She didn't answer. Couldn't. He stood. Moved to the fireplace and added another log. Poked at the embers until flames caught and spread. The room brightened. She could see him clearly now. He'd changed clothes. Dark shirt. Boots. Hair still slightly damp. I'm not going to ask you to tell me your whole story, he said, not looking at her. But I need to know one thing. Are you a danger to my pack? No. Are you being hunted? She hadn't thought about that. Would Davien come after her? Would Seraphine? I don't think so. They were glad to be rid of me. Then you can stay. He turned to face her. As long as you need. No strings. No expectations. Why? The question burst out of her. Why would you do this? You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. Maybe I don't like seeing people thrown away like garbage. His eyes held hers. Maybe I know what it's like to be judged for things you can't control. There was something in his voice. Something raw. But before she could ask, he was already moving toward the door. Get some more sleep, he said. When you wake up, come find me. There are things we need to discuss. Malric. He paused, hand on the door handle. Thank you. He nodded once. Then he was gone. Seraphine lay back down, but sleep didn't return. Her mind was too full. Too many questions. Too many impossible things happening all at once. An alpha who showed her kindness when her own mate had shown her nothing but cruelty. A pack that took her in when her own had cast her out. And something else. Something she couldn't quite name. A pull. Faint. Barely there. But unmistakable. Toward him. No. That was impossible. The bond was broken. Davienne had rejected her. She couldn't feel anything like that again. Not so soon. Not ever. She pressed her hand to her chest, over her heart. Where the bond had been. Where now there was only an ache. But underneath the ache, something else. Something warm. Something that terrified her more than anything that had happened in the last 24 hours. Because if what she was feeling was real, if it was even possible, then everything she thought she knew about fate and bonds and the moon goddess was wrong. And she didn't know if she could survive being wrong about one more thing. Chapter 2, The Bond That Shouldn't Exist. Morning came too fast and too slow all at once. Seraphine lay in bed watching the sunrise paint the room in shades of gold and amber, her mind refusing to settle. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt it again. That strange warmth in her chest. That impossible pull. It had to be her imagination. Trauma playing tricks on her broken heart. Nothing more. She finally forced herself up when the sun cleared the treetops. Her body ached in places she didn't know could ache. The cut on her knee had scabbed over, angry and red against her pale skin. The rejection mark on her throat throbbed with a dull, persistent pain that reminded her with every heartbeat of what she'd lost. The clothes Iris had given her still fit loose, but they were clean and soft. She ran her fingers through her tangled hair, trying to work out the worst of the knots. No mirror in the room. Probably for the best. She didn't want to see what she looked like. Didn't want to see the ghost staring back. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called, her voice still rough from sleep. Iris entered carrying another tray. This time it held eggs, toast, and what looked like fresh berries. The scent made Seraphine's stomach growl despite her anxiety. "Good, you're up." Iris set the tray down with a warm smile. "Malric said you'd probably try to skip breakfast and sneak out. I told him he was being paranoid, but between you and me, he's usually right about these things." Seraphine felt her cheeks warm. "I wasn't going to sneak out." "Weren't you?" Iris raised an eyebrow, but her expression held no judgment. "Eat. Then he wants to see you in his study. Third door on the left down the main hall. Can't miss it." She left before Seraphine could ask any of the dozen questions burning in her throat. The food was incredible. Each bite tasted better than the last, and she found herself eating everything on the plate without meaning to. When had she last had a real meal? Days? Weeks? Shadowpine's rations had been getting smaller. She'd given most of hers to the children, to the nursing mothers, to wolves who mattered more than a soon-to-be rejected mate. When she finished, she stood and made her way to the door. Her hand hesitated on the handle. Once she stepped out, once she went to see Malric, this became real. She'd be accepting his help. Accepting that she had nowhere else to go. Pride warred with desperation. Desperation won. The hallway was empty. Morning light streamed through tall windows, illuminating paintings of wolves running through forests, mountains rising against star-filled skies. Everything here felt solid. Permanent. Like a pack that had roots reaching deep into the earth. She found the main hall easily enough. It was massive, with a vaulted ceiling and a fireplace large enough to stand in. A few wolves moved through, carrying supplies or talking in low voices. They glanced at her as she passed. Curious but not hostile. One woman even nodded. Third door on the left. She counted them off. 1, 2, 3. The door was slightly ajar. She could hear voices inside. Malric's deep rumble and another man's voice, younger, sharper. "You can't just bring strays into the pack without consulting the council." The younger man sounded frustrated. "Especially not right now. Not with the summit coming up." "I don't recall asking for permission." Malric's tone was flat. Final. "She's from Shadowpine. Davienne Thorn's rejected mate. Do you have any idea what kind of message that sends?" Seraphine's stomach dropped. They were talking about her. About how she was a liability. A problem. She should leave. should turn around and walk right back out of this lodge and keep walking until she crossed into territory so far away that no one knew her name or her shame. But her feet wouldn't move. The message it sends, Malric said slowly, each word deliberate, is that Iron Ridge doesn't cast aside those in need. That we're stronger than Shadowpine's petty cruelty. Or did you forget what this pack stands for, Reed? Silence. Then a heavy sigh. I haven't forgotten. I'm trying to protect you. Protect the pack. You know how the other alphas will see this. I don't care how they see it. You should. Reed's voice softened. The summit is in 3 weeks. Every alpha in the region will be there, including Davien. If you show up with his rejected mate, then they'll know exactly where Iron Ridge stands. Now if you're done questioning my judgment, I have things to do. Footsteps. Moving toward the door. Seraphine stepped back quickly, but not quickly enough. The door swung open fully and a man around her age emerged. Tall, lean, with sandy hair and eyes that went wide when he saw her. How long have you been standing there? He asked. Long enough. She lifted her chin, refusing to show how much his words had stung. I didn't mean to intrude. You're not intruding. Malric appeared behind Reed, his expression unreadable. Reed was just leaving. Reed looked between them, then shook his head. I'll talk to you later. He brushed past Seraphine, but paused. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. About what happened to you. Then he was gone, his footsteps echoing down the hall. Malric gestured into the study. Come in. Close the door. She did. The study was smaller than she expected, lined with bookshelves and dominated by a large wooden desk covered in maps and papers. A window overlooked the forest, letting in streams of morning light that caught dust motes floating in the air. Sit. He moved to pour something from a decanter on a side table. You look like you could use this. She sat in one of the chairs facing the desk. He handed her a small glass of amber liquid. Whiskey, by the smell of it. It's barely past dawn, she said. And you just heard my beta call you a problem. Trust me, you'll want the drink. He had a point. She took a sip. It burned going down but settled warm in her stomach. Malric leaned against the desk, crossing his arms. Reed isn't wrong about the complications. But he's also not right about what we should do. You mean you shouldn't have brought me here? She stared at the glass in her hands. I should go. I don't want to cause trouble for your pack. Too late. You're already here. And I don't go back on my word. He tilted his head, studying her. Besides, I think you're worth more than the trouble you might cause. You don't know that. You don't know me. No. But I'd like to. He pushed off the desk and moved to the window, hands clasped behind his back. Tell me about Shadowpine. About your mate. About what really happened. I already told you. The healer said I was infertile. Davien rejected me. The pack turned their backs. She took another sip of whiskey. Bigger this time. That's all there is. That's not all there is. He didn't turn around. You don't run into neutral territory during a storm, injured and alone, just because your mate was a bastard. There's more. She wanted to argue. Wanted to keep her secrets locked tight. But something about the way he stood there, not looking at her, not pushing, made the words come anyway. Davien and I were together for 2 years before the bond snapped into place. Everyone was so happy. The alpha's son finding his mate. It was supposed to be perfect. Her throat tightened. But I started getting sick. Headaches. Dizziness. I thought it was just stress. The pack was struggling. Food was scarce. Wolves were fighting more. I thought I was just tired. But it wasn't stress. No. The healer ran tests. Found out my womb was damaged. Scarred. She said it might have been from an illness when I was young, or maybe I was just born that way. Doesn't matter. The result is the same. She finished the whiskey, set the glass down carefully. I can't have children. And for a pack like Shadowpine, for a future alpha's mate, that's unforgivable. So he rejected you. He rejected me. In front of everyone. Didn't even wait until we were alone. The memory made her chest ache. His father, the alpha, he just nodded. Like it was expected. Like I was a broken tool they were throwing away. And the pack? Some of them looked sorry. But none of them said anything. None of them tried to stop it. Malric finally turned to face her. His eyes were hard. Cowards. All of them. They were practical. A Luna who can't bear children can't secure alliances through marriage ties. Can't give the pack the next generation of strong wolves. I understand why. No. His voice cut through her words like a blade. Don't make excuses for them. Don't rationalize cruelty. He moved closer, stopping a few feet away. You are not a tool. You're not a vessel. You're a person. And any wolf worth their rank would see that. The intensity in his gaze made her look away. You barely know me. How can you say that? Because I watched you in the rain last night. Injured. Rejected. With every reason to give up. And you were still standing. Still fighting. He crouched down so they were eye level. That tells me everything I need to know. Her breath caught. This close, she could see the flecks of silver in his gray eyes. Could smell pine and something wild. Something that made her wolf stir. The warmth in her chest flared. No. This couldn't be happening. She stood abruptly, nearly knocking over the chair. I should go. I've taken enough of your time. Seraphine. He stood too, but didn't move closer. What are you afraid of? I'm not afraid. You're terrified. I can smell it. She wrapped her arms around herself. What do you want from me? Nothing you're not willing to give. He moved back to the desk, giving her space. Stay here. For a few days. A few weeks. However long you need. Help around the lodge if it makes you feel better. Iris can always use an extra pair of hands. But you don't owe me anything. No debt. No obligation. Why are you doing this? The question came out desperate. Pleading. What do you get out of this? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, peace of mind. Knowing you're safe. That's enough. It didn't make sense. Alphas didn't do things without reason. Without benefit. But when she looked at him, searched his face for deception, she found none. Just sincerity. And something else. Something that looked almost like loneliness. Okay, she heard herself say. I'll stay. For a little while. His shoulders relaxed slightly. Good. Iris will show you around. Introduce you to some of the pack members. If anyone gives you trouble, you tell me immediately. I can handle myself. I don't doubt it. But you're under my protection now. That means something here. He returned to the papers on his desk, a clear dismissal. But then he paused. There's a lake about a mile north of here. Through the trees. If you need space, need to think, it's a good place. Quiet. Private. She nodded and moved toward the door. Seraphine. She looked back. Welcome to Iron Ridge. The words settled over her like a blanket. Warm. Unexpected. Dangerous. She left quickly, before she could do something stupid like cry. The rest of the morning passed in a blur. Iris found her in the hall and immediately swept her into a whirlwind tour of the lodge. The kitchen, where a woman named Marin ruled with efficient grace. The common room, where pack members gathered to eat and socialize. The training grounds outside, where wolves sparred and ran drills. Everyone she met was polite. Curious but not invasive. They asked her name, welcomed her, and moved on. It was so different from Shadowpine, where everyone knew everyone's business. Where whispers followed you like shadows. By midday, Iris had her helping in the kitchen. Chopping vegetables for stew. Kneading bread dough. Simple tasks that kept her hands busy and her mind from spiraling. You're good at this, Marin commented, watching her work. She was older than Iris, with gray hair pulled back in a braid and laugh lines around her eyes. You work in the kitchens back home? Sometimes. When they needed extra help. Seraphine focused on the carrots she was dicing. I liked it. It was peaceful. Peaceful is good. Marin added herbs to a pot simmering on the stove. We could use someone with steady hands around here. Most of the young ones are too eager to get to training. They rush through everything. I'm not staying long, Seraphine said quickly. Just until I figure out what to do next. Marin hummed but didn't argue. Well, while you're here, you're welcome in my kitchen any time. The afternoon brought more of the same. She helped Iris mend torn clothes, organize supplies in the storage room, and even assisted with bathing some of the younger children. Each task made her feel less like a ghost and more like a person. But the warmth in her chest never faded. It pulsed steadily, a constant reminder of something she didn't want to acknowledge. As the sun started to sink, she remembered Malric's words about the lake. She needed air. Needed to think without people around. She slipped out through a side door and headed into the forest. The path was easy to find, worn smooth by countless paws and feet over the years. The trees here were different from the ones near the border. Taller. Older. Their branches formed a canopy that filtered the evening light into soft gold. She walked until she heard water. The lake appeared suddenly, a perfect circle of dark blue surrounded by smooth stones. The surface was glass still, reflecting the sky above. Seraphine sat on a large rock at the water's edge and pulled her knees to her chest. For the first time all day, she let herself stop. Let herself feel. The grief hit like a physical blow. Not for Davien. She was surprised to realize she didn't miss him. Didn't mourn the loss of their bond. What she mourned was simpler. Crueler. She mourned the future she'd never have. The children she'd never hold. The family she'd never build. Tears came hot and fast. She buried her face in her knees and let them fall. Let the sobs rack her body until she had nothing left. When she finally lifted her head, the sun had set. Stars were beginning to appear overhead. And she wasn't alone. Malric stood a few yards away, hands in his pockets. He didn't say anything. Didn't move closer. Just stood there like a silent sentinel. How long have you been there? Her voice was hoarse. Long enough. He moved closer, but stopped when she tensed. I won't ask if you're okay. That's a stupid question. Despite everything, she almost smiled. Thank you. He sat on a rock nearby. Not too close. But close enough. I lost someone once. Someone I thought I'd spend my life with. The pain was consuming. I thought I'd drown in it. She looked at him. Really looked at him. What happened? She died. Rogue attack 3 years ago. We weren't mates, but we'd been together since we were teenagers. Everyone assumed we'd eventually bond. He picked up a smooth stone and turned it over in his hands. When she died, I felt like I'd failed her. Failed the pack. Failed everything. I'm sorry. Don't be. Time helped. Distance helped. But what helped most was realizing that the pain meant she mattered. That what we had was real, even if it ended too soon. He looked at her. Your pain is proof that you loved. That you wanted something beautiful. That's not weakness. That's strength. The warmth in her chest flared again. Stronger this time. Impossible to ignore. She stood quickly. I should get back. It's getting dark. He stood too. Seraphine, wait. She stopped but didn't turn around. Do you feel it? His voice was barely above a whisper. This thing between us. Tell me I'm not going crazy. Her heart hammered. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. He moved closer. She could feel him behind her, heat radiating from his body. I felt it the moment I found you in the rain. I thought it was just instinct. Alpha protecting a wolf in distress. But it's not. It's more than that. It can't be. She wrapped her arms around herself. I was just rejected. The bond is broken. I can't feel anything like that again. Not this fast. Not ever. Maybe that's exactly why you can feel it. He moved to stand in front of her, forcing her to meet his eyes. Maybe the moon goddess knew. Maybe she always knew. Knew what? That Davien wasn't your true mate. That he was just a placeholder. A mistake. He reached up slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he brushed a strand of hair from her face. Maybe she was always leading you here. To me. The touch sent electricity through her skin. The warmth in her chest exploded into something bigger. Something undeniable. A bond. A new bond. Forming where the old one had shattered. No. She stepped back, shaking her head. This isn't real. It's just trauma. Just my broken heart trying to find something to hold on to. Then why can I feel it too? He dropped his hand but held her gaze. Why does every instinct in my body tell me to protect you? To keep you close? He cut himself off. Took a breath. I'm not asking you to accept this. I'm not asking you to feel anything you're not ready to feel. I just need you to know that I'm here. And I'm not going anywhere. She wanted to run. Wanted to shift and disappear into the forest and never look back. But her feet stayed planted. Her eyes stayed locked on his. Because deep down, in a place she didn't want to acknowledge, she knew he was right. The moon goddess had led her here. Through pain. Through rejection. Through a storm that should have killed her. And she'd led her straight to him. I can't do this, she whispered. I can't survive another broken bond. Then we won't let it break. He held out his hand. Palm up. An offering. Take it one day at a time. That's all I'm asking. She stared at his hand. At the scars across his knuckles. At the strength and gentleness contained in those fingers. One day at a time. Maybe she could do that. Maybe. She reached out. Their fingers touched. The bond snapped into place with the force of a thunderclap. Not gentle. Not subtle. A complete, total connection that stole the breath from her lungs and made her knees buckle. Malric caught her. His arms wrapped around her waist, holding her steady. His scent flooded her senses. Pine and rain and something uniquely him. Home. He smelled like home. I've got you, he murmured against her hair. I've got you. She clung to him, overwhelmed by the sensation of being seen. Being known. Being wanted. But underneath the joy, underneath the relief, terror whispered. What if this broke too? What if she wasn't enough for him either? What if her curse extended beyond just her womb? What if she destroyed everything she touched? As if sensing her thoughts, Malric pulled back just enough to look at her. Whatever you're thinking, stop. You're not broken. You're not cursed. You're exactly who you're supposed to be. You don't know that. Yes, I do. He cupped her face in his hands. And I'll spend every day proving it to you if that's what it takes. Before she could respond, before she could process any of this, a howl split the night air. Not playful. Not social. A warning howl. Malric's entire demeanor changed. The gentle alpha disappeared, replaced by the warrior. He released her and turned toward the lodge, every muscle tense. What is it? She asked. Intruders. On the border. He looked at her. Go back to the lodge. Find Iris. Stay inside. Malric. Now, Seraphine. The command in his voice left no room for argument. She ran. Her feet flew over the path, branches whipping at her face. Behind her, she heard him shift. Heard the sound of massive paws hitting earth. She burst into the lodge to find it in controlled chaos. Wolves moving with purpose. Grabbing weapons. Shifting. Iris appeared and grabbed her arm. What's happening? Seraphine demanded. Border Patrol spotted wolves from Shadowpine. 3 of them. Heading this way. Iris pulled her toward the interior of the lodge. You need to stay hidden until we know what they want. Shadowpine. Here. Her blood turned to ice. Do they know I'm here? She asked. Iris's expression said everything. They knew. And they'd come for her. Chapter 3, the cage she almost escaped. The interior room Iris shoved her into was windowless. Dark. A storage space filled with extra blankets and supplies. The door closed with a soft click, and Seraphine heard the lock turn from the outside. Stay quiet, Iris whispered through the wood. No matter what you hear. Stay quiet. Then footsteps. Fading. Gone. Seraphine pressed her back against the wall and slid down until she was sitting on the cold floor. Her heart hammered against her ribs, so hard she thought they might crack. The new bond with Malric pulsed in her chest, alive and urgent. She could feel his anger through it, his protective instinct surging like a wildfire. And underneath that, she felt his worry. For her. Minutes crawled by like hours. She strained to hear anything beyond the door. Voices. Movement. But the lodge had gone eerily silent. Like everyone was holding their breath. Then distantly, she heard the main doors open. Heavy footsteps. Multiple sets. And a voice that made her blood run cold. Davienne. I'm not here to cause trouble, Malric. I'm here to retrieve what belongs to Shadowpine. Nothing in my territory belongs to Shadowpine. Malric's voice was steel wrapped in ice. You have no authority here. She's my rejected mate. That gives me certain rights. You rejected her. You have no rights. Not to her. Not to anything concerning her. A pause. And you're standing in my home uninvited. I suggest you choose your next words very carefully. Seraphine's hands shook. She pressed them flat against the floor, trying to steady herself. Why had Davienne come? Why now? He'd made it clear he wanted nothing to do with her. The pack had made it clear. So why cross into another Alpha's territory to find her? Another voice joined the conversation. Older. Rougher. Davienne's father. Alpha Garrett. Let's all stay calm. We're not here for conflict. We simply need to speak with Seraphine. There are matters that need to be addressed. Then you can address them through me. Malric wasn't budging. Or better yet, you can turn around and leave. You've crossed into Iron Ridge territory without permission. That alone is cause for. We sent word 2 days ago requesting a meeting. Garrett's tone sharpened. Your beta confirmed receipt. So don't pretend this is a surprise. Silence. Then Reed's voice, tight with tension. We received word of a potential meeting. Not that you'd be bringing Davienne. Not that you'd be demanding to see a wolf under our protection. She's not under your protection. She's packless. A rogue. Davienne again. We have every right to. She is under my protection. Malric's words cut through like a blade. From the moment she entered my territory, she became my responsibility. And I don't hand over wolves to packs that cast them out like garbage. The bond in Seraphine's chest flared with Malric's anger. She could feel it building. Feel him fighting to keep control. If this escalated, if they fought, blood would be spilled. Possibly his. Because of her. Again. She couldn't let that happen. Before she could second-guess herself, she stood and moved to the door. Her hand hesitated on the handle. Every instinct screamed at her to stay hidden. To stay safe. But Malric was out there facing her past because she'd brought it to his doorstep. The least she could do was face it with him. She unlocked the door and stepped out into the hallway. Iris appeared immediately, eyes wide. What are you doing? Get back inside. No. Seraphine's voice was steadier than she felt. This is my fight. Not his. Seraphine. But she was already moving. Down the hallway. Toward the voices. Toward the confrontation she'd been running from since yesterday. The main hall came into view. Malric stood at the center, flanked by Reed and several other Iron Ridge wolves. Facing them were 3 Shadowpine wolves. Davienne. His father Garrett. And Marcus, Garrett's beta. All 3 looked travel-worn but alert. Dangerous. Malric's head snapped toward her the moment she entered. His eyes widened. Seraphine, no. Go back. But it was too late. Davienne had seen her. His expression went through a series of rapid changes. Surprise. Then something darker. Possessive. Angry. There you are. I'm here. She forced herself to walk forward, to stand beside Malric. What do you want, Davienne? What do I want? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. I want you to come home. To stop this childish tantrum and face your responsibilities. My responsibilities? The word tasted like poison. You rejected me. You made it clear I had no place in Shadowpine. So what responsibilities could you possibly mean? Garrett stepped forward. He was older than Malric, with grey threading through his dark hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. The rejection was premature. Done in haste and anger. We're willing to reverse it. The words hung in the air like smoke. Reverse it. Seraphine felt Malric go rigid beside her. Felt his fury through the bond. But when he spoke, his voice was deadly calm. On what grounds? On the grounds that it was a mistake. Garrett's gaze shifted to Seraphine. We've consulted with healers from 3 territories. All of them agree that your condition isn't as permanent as originally diagnosed. There are treatments, rituals, ways to potentially restore your fertility. The floor seemed to tilt beneath her feet. What? It's true. Davienne moved closer, and she instinctively stepped back. Right into Malric, who placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. The healer who examined you was wrong. Or at least, not entirely right. You're not completely infertile. With the right treatment, you could still bear children. Her mind spun. Could barely process the words. You're lying. Why would we lie? Garrett spread his hands. We came all this way to bring you home. To make this right. To make it right? Seraphine's voice rose. You cast me out. You let your son reject me in front of the entire pack. You did nothing while they turned their backs on me. And now you want me to believe you care? That you're here out of the goodness of your hearts. We're here because you're still valuable to the pack. Marcus spoke for the first time. His voice was blunt. Practical. A Luna who can potentially bear children is better than no Luna at all. And there it was. The truth beneath the pretty words. She wasn't a person to them. She was a resource. A tool that had suddenly become useful again. Get out. Malric's voice was low. Dangerous. All of you. Now. We're not leaving without her. Davienne's jaw set. She's still bound to Shadowpine by pack law. The rejection hasn't been fully processed yet. It takes 30 days for the bond to completely sever. Until then, she's still technically my mate. That's not how it works, and you know it. Reed stepped forward. The rejection was public. Witnessed. Accepted. The bond is broken. The bond is weakened. Not broken. Garrett pulled a folded paper from his jacket. We brought documentation from the Council of Territories. According to pack law, if a rejection is disputed within the 30-day period, it can be reversed. We're disputing it. He held out the paper. Malric didn't take it. I don't care what your paper says. She's not going anywhere. That's not your decision to make. Davienne's eyes locked on Seraphine. Is it Sarah? The nickname made her flinch. He'd called her that when they were happy. When she'd thought their future was certain. Hearing it now felt like claws raking over old wounds. Don't call me that. Why not? It's your name. Or have you already forgotten who you are? Who we were together? He took another step closer. Malric moved to block him, but Seraphine placed a hand on his arm. Stopped him. I know exactly who I am, she said quietly. And I know who you are. You rejected me because I couldn't give you what you wanted. Because I was broken. Remember? Those were your words. Broken. I was angry. I made a mistake. No. You were honest. For the first time in our entire relationship, you were completely honest. She felt tears burning but refused to let them fall. You never loved me, Davienne. You loved what I could give you. Status. Children. A picture-perfect future. The moment I couldn't provide that, I became worthless to you. That's not true. Isn't it? She gestured to his father, to Marcus. Why are they here? Why did you bring witnesses and documentation and talk about pack law and treaties? If you actually cared about me, if you actually wanted to make things right, you would have come alone. You would have apologized. You would have done literally anything except show up here like this is a business transaction. Davienne's expression hardened. You're being irrational. I'm being clear-headed for the first time in years. She took a breath. I'm not going back to Shadowpine. Not now. Not ever. You don't have a choice. Garrett's voice turned cold. Pack law is clear. You're still bound to Davien until the 30-day period ends. And if we're contesting the rejection, which we are, you're legally required to return and undergo mediation. She's under my protection. Malric's hand moved to the small of Seraphine's back. Your laws don't apply here. They apply everywhere in the Territory Alliance. You know that. Garrett's eyes narrowed. Unless you're planning to break treaty agreements? Risk your packs standing over one female. The threat was clear. If Malric refused, Shadowpine could bring their case to the council. Could paint Iron Ridge as treaty breakers. Outlaws. It would isolate them politically. Make them vulnerable. All because of her. Seraphine felt the weight of it crushing down. She'd brought nothing but trouble from the moment she arrived. And now she was going to cost Malric everything. I'll go. The words came out before she could stop them. No. Malric turned to her. You're not going anywhere with them. I have to. You heard him. If I don't, they'll use it against your pack. Against you. She looked up at him, memorizing his face. The sharp lines. The gray eyes that had shown her nothing but kindness. I won't let you sacrifice everything for me. Seraphine, listen to me. This is the smart choice. Her voice cracked. The practical choice. You said it yourself. You have a summit coming up. You can't afford political complications right now. I don't care about the summit. I don't care about politics. He gripped her shoulders gently. I care about you. The bond between them hummed. Warm. New. Fragile. She wanted to stay. Goddess, she wanted to stay so badly it physically hurt. But staying meant putting him at risk. Meant potentially destroying everything he'd built. She couldn't do that to him. Not after everything he'd done for her. I'm sorry, she whispered. Then louder, to Davien and Garrett, I'll come back. For the mediation. But that's all. Once the 30 days are up, the rejection stands. I'm never returning to Shadowpine permanently. Davien's expression shifted to something almost triumphant. We'll see about that once you're home. Once the treatments start working. Once you remember what we had. Malric moved between them. She's not leaving tonight. She goes back tomorrow. In daylight. With an Iron Ridge escort. And if anything, and I mean anything, happens to her, I will personally tear Shadowpine apart stone by stone. The promise in his voice made even Garrett pause. Tomorrow at dawn, the older Alpha said finally. We'll be waiting at the border. They turned to leave. Davien lingered, his eyes on Seraphine. I'll see you soon, Sarah. We'll fix this. Fix us. Then they were gone. The door closed behind them with a heavy thud. The silence that followed was suffocating. Everyone out. Malric's voice was rough. Now. The Iron Ridge wolves scattered. Even Reed left quickly, though not before shooting Seraphine a look she couldn't quite read. Pity? Anger? Both? When they were alone, Malric rounded on her. What the hell were you thinking? I was thinking about your pack. Your position. I was thinking that I've already cost you enough without adding political warfare to the list. She wrapped her arms around herself. This is the right thing to do. The right thing. He laughed, harsh and bitter. The right thing is keeping you here. Safe. Protected. Not sending you back to wolves who see you as property. It's only for the mediation. For the 30 days. Then I'm free. You're free now. He ran his hands through his hair, frustration rolling off him in waves. You don't owe them anything. You don't owe Davien anything. Why can't you see that? Because I'm tired. The words burst out of her. I'm tired of running. I'm tired of being the reason people suffer. I'm tired of being a burden and a problem and something that needs to be protected. Tears spilled over. She couldn't hold them back anymore. I just want it to end. If going back for 30 days means it ends, means I can finally be free of Shadowpine and Davien and all of it, then that's what I'll do. Malric stared at her. Then slowly, his anger drained away. He moved closer. Carefully. Like approaching a wounded animal. You're not a burden, he said softly. You're not a problem. You're. He reached up, wiped a tear from her cheek with his thumb. You're mine. The bond proves it. The moon goddess doesn't make mistakes. The moon goddess made me infertile. That feels like a pretty big mistake. No. She made you exactly as you are. And maybe she did that because you're meant for something more than just being a vessel for children. Maybe you're meant for something bigger. His hand moved to cup her face. Maybe you're meant to be a Luna who changes what it means to lead. Who shows that strength comes in forms beyond just bloodlines and heirs. She wanted to believe him. Wanted it so badly her chest ached. 30 days, she said. That's all. Then I come back. If you go back, they won't let you leave. His eyes searched hers. You know that, don't you? Once you're there, once they have you under their control, they'll find ways to keep you. To manipulate you into staying. Then you'll come get me. Damn right I will. He pressed his forehead to hers. But I'd rather not have to start a war to do it. There won't be a war. I'll be careful. I'll follow their rules, sit through their mediation, and when the 30 days are up, I'll walk out. Simple. Nothing with Shadow Pine is simple. But he didn't argue further. Just held her there, their breathing sinking. The bond between them pulsing with emotions too complex to name. After a long moment, he pulled back. You should rest. It's going to be a long day tomorrow. Will you stay? The question slipped out before she could stop it. Just until I fall asleep? Something in his expression softened. Yeah, I'll stay. They made their way back to her room. The hallways were empty now, the lodge settling into uneasy quiet. When they reached her door, she hesitated. What if they're right? She asked. What if the healers really can fix me? What if I can have children? Malric turned to face her fully. Would that change how you feel? About Davien? About what he did? No. Never. The answer came immediately. Certain. Then it doesn't matter. Whether you can bear children or not, whether some healer can work miracles or not, none of that changes who you are. Or what you deserve. He brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. You deserve someone who wants you. All of you. Not just the parts that serve a purpose. The tears came again. But this time they weren't bitter. They were relief. Gratitude. Wonder. How are you real? She whispered. He smiled. Small. Sad. I ask myself the same thing about you. Inside the room, she changed into the nightclothes Iris had left folded on the bed. Malric sat in the chair by the window, the same spot he'd occupied this morning. Had it really only been this morning? It felt like years had passed. She climbed under the blankets and watched him. He looked tired. Lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before. The weight of leadership showing through. I'm sorry, she said into the darkness. For what? For bringing this to your door. For complicating everything. Stop apologizing for existing. His voice was gentle but firm. You didn't choose any of this. But I chose to help you. I chose to bring you here. And I'd make that choice again. Every single time. She closed her eyes. Let his words wrap around her like armor. Sleep came slowly. And when it did, it brought dreams. Confusing. Fractured. She was running through a forest. Trees stretched endlessly. Behind her, something chased. Something with glowing eyes and sharp teeth. She ran faster, branches cutting her skin, lungs burning. Then she was falling. Falling into darkness. Into water that pulled her down, down, down. A hand caught her wrist. Pulled her up. She broke the surface gasping. Malric was there. Holding her. Keeping her above water. I've got you, he said. I've got you. She woke with a start. Dawn light crept through the window. The chair by the window was empty. For a moment, panic seized her. But then she saw the note on the bedside table. Getting things ready for the journey. Iris will bring you breakfast. Don't even think about trying to sneak out. Despite everything, she smiled. The morning passed too quickly. Iris brought food and helped her pack the few belongings she'd accumulated. Clean clothes. A brush. A small knife Iris insisted she take just in case. The older woman's eyes were worried, but she didn't voice her concerns. Just hugged Seraphine tight before leaving her to finish preparing. By the time the sun was fully up, Seraphine stood in the main hall surrounded by Iron Ridge wolves. Malric, Reed, Iris. Even Marin from the kitchen had come. They watched her with expressions ranging from concern to barely concealed anger at the situation. "The escort is ready," Reed said quietly. "4 of our best. They'll see you to the border and make sure Shadowpine honors the agreement." "Thank you." Malric handed her a small leather pouch. "There's silver in here. And a communication crystal. If you need anything at all, you crush the crystal and I'll know. I'll come immediately." She took the pouch, the weight of it heavier than it should be. "I'll be fine. Promise me you'll use it if you need to." "I promise." He pulled her aside, away from the others. Lowered his voice so only she could hear. "The bond. You feel it, right? You know it's real." "I feel it." "Then remember that. When they try to confuse you, when they try to make you doubt yourself, remember what we have. Remember that you have somewhere to come back to." His hand found hers. Squeezed. "Remember me." "I will." She stopped. The words caught in her throat. 3 words that felt too big, too soon, too dangerous to say out loud. But he heard them anyway. She saw it in his eyes. 30 days, he said. "Then you come home." "Home," she repeated, testing the word. It felt right. Terrifying. But right. The journey to the border was silent. The 4 Iron Ridge wolves flanked her, their expressions grim and alert. They moved through the forest quickly, efficiently. Warriors comfortable in their territory. Too soon, the trees thinned. The border came into view. And there, waiting on the other side, stood 3 Shadowpine wolves. Davienne stepped forward as they approached. Right on time. One of the Iron Ridge escorts, a woman named Kara with scars across her jaw, moved between them. She crosses over, but she's under neutral protection until the mediation is complete. Any harm that comes to her, intentional or otherwise, will be considered a breach of treaty. Understood. Davienne's eyes never left Seraphine. "Welcome home, Sarah." She stepped across the border. Felt the shift immediately. The air was different here. Thinner. Colder. Or maybe that was just knowing she was back on Shadowpine land. The Iron Ridge wolves didn't leave immediately. They watched until Shadowpine started leading her away. Until distance made them nothing but shadows between the trees. Seraphine looked back once. Tried to memorize the site of Iron Ridge territory. Of safety. Of the place where someone had looked at her and seen value. Then she turned forward. Toward whatever waited for her in the next 30 days. Davienne walked beside her. Close but not touching. "It's good to have you back." She said nothing. "The treatments will start tomorrow. The healers are already preparing. You'll see. Everything will work out. We'll fix what's broken." "I'm not broken," she said quietly. He didn't respond. Just kept walking. But she felt his hand brush against hers. Deliberate. Possessive. The bond with Malric pulsed in her chest. Distant now but still there. Still real. 30 days. She could survive 30 days. But as they approached the Shadowpine Lodge, as she saw the faces of wolves who had turned their backs on her, something cold settled in her stomach. Davienne hadn't come to fix their relationship. He'd come to reclaim property. And she had just walked right back into his hands. The door closed behind her with a sound like a cell locking. Somewhere in the distance, a crow cawed. Once. Twice. 3 times. An omen. A warning. Too late. Far too late. Chapter 4: The Luna Who Chose Herself. The room they gave her wasn't the one she'd shared with Davienne. Small mercies. This one was in the east wing, overlooking the training grounds. Smaller. Darker. With bars on the window that they claimed were decorative but felt like exactly what they were. A cage. She stood at that window now, 3 days into her 30-day sentence, and watched wolves spar below. They moved with practiced efficiency, their forms sharp and disciplined. She recognized some of them. Wolves who had once nodded to her in passing, who had smiled at her during pack gatherings. Now they didn't look up, didn't acknowledge the figure in the window. She was a ghost here, present but invisible. The treatments had started the morning after she arrived. A healer named Octavia, brought in from a neighboring territory, examined her with clinical detachment. Poked and prodded. Drew blood. Mixed herbs into foul-tasting tinctures that Seraphine was required to drink twice daily. "The damage to your womb is significant," Octavia had said, her voice matter of fact. "But not irreparable. With the right combination of remedies and rituals, we should be able to restore at least partial function within 6 months." 6 months. Not 30 days. 6 months. When Seraphine had pointed this out, when she'd reminded them of the agreement, Davienne had simply smiled. "The mediation period is 30 days. But if you choose to stay for treatment after that, well, that's your choice. Isn't it?" The implication was clear. They'd find ways to make her stay. To extend the timeline. To blur the lines until she forgot there had ever been a choice at all. The bond with Malric was her lifeline. She felt it constantly, a warm presence in her chest that reminded her she wasn't crazy. That what they'd shared was real. But distance weakened it. Made it harder to feel his emotions. Harder to send hers. She hadn't used the crystal yet. Wouldn't unless things became truly desperate. Because using it meant admitting she couldn't handle this. Meant potentially starting a conflict that could spiral into war. So she endured. The mediation sessions were theater. Elaborate performances where Garrett played the reasonable alpha, Davienne played the repentant mate, and she was expected to play the confused, emotional female who just needed time to see sense. Today's session was particularly suffocating. They sat in Garrett's study, the same room where her rejection had been finalized 3 weeks ago. The irony wasn't lost on her. "Seraphine, you have to understand our position." Garrett leaned forward, hands clasped on his desk. "When you left, you took valuable pack knowledge with you. Information about our resources, our weaknesses, our strategies. I didn't take anything. I barely made it out with the clothes on my back. Knowledge isn't physical. It's up here." He tapped his temple. "And now that knowledge is in Iron Ridge territory, with an alpha known for his tactical brilliance, you can see why that concerns us." It was absurd. She'd never been privy to high-level pack decisions. Had never attended council meetings or strategic planning sessions. She'd been Davienne's mate, yes, but even that had kept her on the periphery of real power. But they didn't care about truth. They cared about narrative. "I haven't told Malric anything about Shadowpine," she said carefully. "Malric." Davienne's jaw tightened when she used his name. "You're on first-name basis with him now?" "He's the alpha who gave me shelter. What should I call him?" "You should call him nothing because you shouldn't be thinking about him at all." Davienne stood, began pacing. "You're my mate, Seraphine. Mine. This bond between us, it's sacred. Blessed by the moon goddess herself. And you're throwing it away for what? A stranger who showed you basic kindness. You rejected me." She kept her voice level. "You severed that sacred bond yourself. You don't get to claim it now just because circumstances changed." "I made a mistake in anger. I'm trying to fix it." "No. You're trying to fix your public image. There's a difference." Garrett cleared his throat. Regardless of motivations, the fact remains that the rejection period hasn't concluded. Technically, legally, you're still bound to Shadowpine. To Davienne. And if you refuse to honor that binding, we can take this to the council. Force a ruling. Then take it to the council. The words came out stronger than she felt. "Let them hear how you cast me out for being infertile. How you only want me back now that there's a chance I might be useful again. I'm sure they'll be very interested in that story." The temperature in the room dropped. Garrett's expression hardened. "Careful, girl. You're playing a dangerous game." "I'm not playing anything. I'm stating facts. Facts can be interpreted many ways." He stood, moved to the window. His back to her. "The council respects tradition. Pack hierarchy. The bond between mate and alpha. They're less interested in the emotional nuances of a female who ran away from her responsibilities." The threat was clear. They'd twist the narrative. Make her look unstable. Ungrateful. A wolf who broke sacred bonds and fled to their enemies. The council would side with Shadowpine because Shadowpine had power, history, standing. She had nothing. The mediation continues, Garrett said. You'll remain here, undergo the treatments, and give this bond with Davien a genuine chance to heal. After the 30 days, we'll reassess. But I expect you to approach this with an open mind. Understood. It wasn't a question. It was a command. Seraphine stood. Am I dismissed? Garrett waved a hand. She left before they could see her shaking. Back in her room, she collapsed on the bed and pressed her hand to her chest. The bond with Malric pulsed. Weak but steady. She closed her eyes and tried to send him something. Anything. A feeling. A thought. Just so he knew she was still fighting. She didn't know if it worked. The distance was too great. The bond too new. Footsteps in the hallway made her sit up. They stopped outside her door. A knock. Come in. The door opened to reveal not Davien or Garrett, but a woman about her age. Tall, with auburn hair and striking green eyes. She carried a tray of food, but her expression was wary. Conflicted. I'm Bryn, she said quietly. One of the pack healers. I brought dinner. Seraphine gestured to the table. Thank you. Bryn set the tray down but didn't leave immediately. She stood there, fidgeting with the edge of her tunic. Can I ask you something? I suppose. Is it true? About Iron Ridge? About their alpha? She glanced toward the door, making sure they were alone. The rumors say he's claimed you. That you've formed a new bond. Seraphine's instinct was to deny it. To protect the fragile thing between her and Malric from Shadowpine's poison. But something in Bryn's expression stopped her. Curiosity. Longing. Hope. It's true, she said softly. Bryn's eyes widened. But how? The rejection only happened 3 weeks ago. Bonds don't form that fast. It's not possible. I didn't think it was possible either. But the moon goddess works in mysterious ways. She stood, moved to the window. Maybe the bond with Davien was never meant to last. Maybe it was just a path leading me to where I was supposed to be. Davien says you're confused. That the rejection trauma made you vulnerable to manipulation. Of course he does. She turned back to Bryn. What do you think? The healer was quiet for a long moment. Then, I think you look different. Stronger. Even trapped in this room, even going through all of this, you seem more alive than you ever did when you were here before. The observation hit deeper than expected. Because it was true. Even in captivity, even facing mediation and manipulation and the constant pressure to submit, she felt more like herself than she had in years with Davien. Why are you telling me this? Seraphine asked. Because I don't think what they're doing is right. The treatments, the mediation, all of it. It feels wrong. Bryn moved closer, lowered her voice. Octavia isn't just treating your infertility. She's preparing something else. Something involving blood magic and binding rituals. I don't know the details, but I've seen the ingredients she's gathering. Obsidian dust. Moonflower petals. Dragon's blood resin. Those aren't fertility herbs. Ice flooded Seraphine's veins. What are they for? Binding spells. The kind that force bonds where none naturally exist. Or strengthen broken ones against the will of one party. Bryn's hands twisted together. I think they're planning to magically bind you to Davien. Make it impossible for you to leave. Impossible for you to feel anything for anyone else. The room spun. Seraphine gripped the edge of the table to steady herself. When? I don't know. Soon, I think. Before the 30 days are up. They're waiting for something. Maybe for you to lower your guard. Maybe for a specific moon phase. Bryn's eyes were desperate. You need to leave. Now. Before it's too late. I can't just leave. They're watching. And if I run, they'll use it as proof that I broke the agreement. They'll go to the council, start a war with Iron Ridge. Better a war than a life in chains. Bryn pulled something from her pocket. A small vial filled with clear liquid. This is essence of nightshade mixed with valerian root. Not enough to kill, but enough to cause a deep sleep. The guard outside your door drinks tea every night at midnight. If you were to add this to his cup. Seraphine stared at the vial. At the escape it represented. Why are you helping me? Because I had a sister once. She was bound to a male she didn't love. A political arrangement blessed by the pack. She tried to fight it, tried to run, but they used blood magic to tie her to him. She lasted 3 years before she walked into the sun and didn't shift to protect herself. Tears glistened in Bryn's eyes. I won't watch them do that to someone else. Not when I can prevent it. If they find out you helped me. They won't. I'll be careful. But you need to decide quickly. The new moon is in 2 days. That's when the binding magic is strongest. They'll do it then. 2 days. Seraphine had 2 days to decide between certain captivity and uncertain freedom. There's something else you should know, Bryn said. The communication crystal Malric gave you? Garrett knows about it. He's had wards placed around this room. If you try to use it, it won't work. And they'll know immediately that you tried. Of course. Of course they'd thought of that. They'd planned for everything. Covered every angle. Except Bryn. They hadn't planned for a healer with a conscience. Take the vial, Bryn pressed. Even if you don't use it. Just having the option might help. Seraphine took it. The glass was cool against her palm. Thank you. For telling me. For risking yourself. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when you're free. Bryn moved to the door, paused. There's a loose board under the bed. 3rd plank from the left. If you need to hide something, that's the place. They haven't found it yet. Then she was gone, leaving Seraphine alone with a decision that would determine the rest of her life. She sat on the floor, back against the bed, and stared at the vial. Escape meant running. Again. Meant potentially starting a conflict that could cost lives. But staying meant losing herself. Becoming a puppet controlled by blood magic and forced bonds. The bond with Malric pulsed. She focused on it, tried to draw strength from that distant warmth. What would you want me to do? She thought, projecting the question into the void. Stay and endure? Run and risk everything? No answer came. The bond was too weak across the distance. She was on her own. Night fell slowly. She picked at the food Bryn had brought, her appetite gone. As darkness settled over Shadowpine, she heard activity below. Wolves gathering in the common hall. Voices raised in discussion. Or argument. Around 11, footsteps approached her door. Not the guard. These were heavier. More deliberate. Davien entered without knocking. He carried a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. His expression was softer than it had been during the mediation. Almost gentle. I thought you might want company, he said. Thought we could talk. Really talk. Without my father or the council or anyone else. Every instinct screamed danger. But refusing would raise suspicion. She needed him to think she was compliant. Considering his offer. At least until she decided what to do about Bryn's vial. All right, she said carefully. Talk. He poured wine into both glasses, handed her one. She took it but didn't drink. Watched as he settled into the chair across from her. I know you don't believe me, he started. About regretting the rejection. About wanting to fix things. But it's true, Sarah. I was an idiot. I let my father's expectations, the pack's needs, all of it cloud my judgment. I forgot about what we had. What did we have, Davien? She set the glass down untouched. Really. Think about it. What did our relationship look like beyond public appearances and pack expectations? He frowned. We were happy. Were we? Or were we just going through the motions? Playing the roles we were supposed to play? You're twisting things. Making it sound like what we had didn't matter. I'm asking an honest question. Did you ever love me for me? Or did you love what I represented? The perfect mate. The future Luna. The mother of your children. That's not fair. None of this is fair. She stood, paced to the window. You rejected me publicly. Humiliated me in front of the entire pack. And now you want me to pretend it didn't happen? To go back to how things were? I want us to start over. Build something real this time. He stood too, moved closer. The treatments are working, Sarah. Octavia says your fertility could be restored within months. We could still have everything we planned. Children. A family. A future. And if the treatments don't work? If I'm still infertile after 6 months, a year, forever? What then? Do you reject me again? He didn't answer immediately. The pause told her everything. You can't even promise that, she said quietly. Because deep down you know, if I can't give you children, I'm worthless to you. To this pack. To your father. Nothing has changed except the possibility that maybe I might be useful again. That's not true. Yes, it is. And the saddest part? I think you actually believe your own lies. You've convinced yourself that this is about love. About second chances. But it's not. It's about pride. About not wanting to lose something that belonged to you. His expression darkened. He's gotten in your head. That Iron Ridge Alpha. He's poisoned you against me. Malric didn't have to do anything. You did this yourself. You rejected me. You destroyed what we had. He just showed me that I deserved better. Davienne moved fast. Crossed the room and grabbed her arm. Not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to stop her from pulling away. You're mine, Seraphine. The bond says so. The moon goddess says so. And in 2 days, when the binding ritual is complete, you'll remember that. There it was. Confirmation of what Bryn had warned about. The mask dropping to reveal the truth underneath. Let go of me. Her voice was steady despite her racing heart. Not until you understand. You're not leaving here. Not in 30 days. Not ever. We're going to fix you, bind you properly to this pack, and you're going to be exactly what we need you to be. His grip tightened slightly. It'll be easier if you cooperate. But either way, it's happening. The bond with Malric flared. Hot and bright and furious. As if he could feel her fear across the distance. As if some part of him knew she was in danger. She had to get out. Had to run. Tonight. You're hurting me, she said softly. Davienne looked down at his hand as if surprised to find it wrapped around her arm. He released her, stepped back. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I just need you to understand how important this is. I understand perfectly. She rubbed her arm where his fingers had been. You should go. I'm tired. He studied her for a long moment, looking for signs of compliance, of submission. She kept her expression neutral, defeated, the mask he wanted to see. Finally, he nodded. Tomorrow we'll talk more. You'll see. Once the ritual is done, once the bond is properly set, everything will be clearer. Easier. He left. The lock clicked behind him. Seraphine waited until his footsteps faded completely. Then she moved. The loose board under the bed came up easily. Inside was a small hollow space, just as Bryn had said. She placed the vial there along with the leather pouch Malric had given her. The pouch with silver and the useless communication crystal. She'd need both if she managed to escape. The guard outside changed at midnight. She heard the shift change, the brief exchange of words. Then silence. She waited another hour. Let the lodge settle into deep sleep. Then she retrieved the vial and made her way to the door. Pressed her ear against the wood and listened. Breathing. Steady and even. The guard was awake but relaxed. The door wasn't locked from her side. They'd gotten comfortable. Complacent. Believing she was too broken to fight back. Their mistake. She opened the door slowly. Inch by inch. The guard sat in a chair against the opposite wall, a cup of tea steaming on a small table beside him. He looked up when the door creaked. Something wrong? He asked. I can't sleep. Thought maybe some tea might help. She gestured to his cup. That smells wonderful. What is it? Chamomile and honey. Kitchen always has a pot ready this time of night. He relaxed slightly. You want me to get you some? Would you? I'd really appreciate it. He stood, stretched. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. The moment he turned the corner, she moved. Dumped the contents of Bryn's vial into his cup. Stirred it quickly with his spoon. Then darted back to her room, leaving the door slightly ajar. She counted seconds. Heartbeats. Prayers. Footsteps returned. The guard settled back into his chair. She heard him take a sip of his tea. Here you go, he called. 1 cup of chamomile. Should help you sleep. She opened the door fully, took the cup he offered. Thank you. You're very kind. He nodded, already lifting his own cup to his lips again. Drinking deeply. She pretended to sip hers while watching him. 1 minute. 2 minutes. His eyes began to droop. His head bobbed once. Twice. Then he slumped in the chair, the cup falling from his slack fingers to pool tea on the floor. Seraphine set her own cup down and grabbed the leather pouch from under the bed. Pulled on the boots Iris had given her back at Iron Ridge. They'd let her keep those. A small oversight she was now grateful for. She checked the hallway. Empty. Silent. The lodge breathed with the rhythm of sleeping wolves. Getting out would be the easy part. Getting off Shadow Pine territory before they noticed she was gone would be nearly impossible. But she had to try. Because staying meant becoming something she wasn't. Meant losing the last pieces of herself to blood magic and forced bonds. She moved through the lodge like a ghost. Down the servants' stairs. Through the kitchen where the fire still smoldered in the hearth. To the back entrance that opened onto the forest. Her hand touched the doorknob when she heard it. A voice. Soft. Familiar. Going somewhere? She turned. Bryn stood in the kitchen doorway, a traveling cloak draped over her arm. You'll need this, the healer said, holding it out. It's cold in the mountains this time of year. And the journey to Iron Ridge is long. Seraphine took the cloak with shaking hands. Thank you. For everything. There's a horse tethered at the North Trail marker. A grey mare named Mist. She's fast and sure-footed. She'll get you to the border. Bryn pressed something else into her hand. A small compass. Due north until you hit the river. Then follow it west. You'll know when you've crossed into Iron Ridge territory. The trees change. The air smells different. What will you tell them? When they realize you helped me? That I didn't know anything. That you must have stolen the ingredients yourself. Used your own knowledge of herbs to make the sleeping draught. Bryn smiled sadly. I'm a good liar when I need to be. Learned from the best. Come with me. The offer burst out before Seraphine could think about it. Come to Iron Ridge. You don't have to stay here, help them hurt people. For a moment, longing flickered across Bryn's face. Then it faded. My family is here. My life is here. I can't just leave. But you can. So go. Run fast. And don't look back. They embraced briefly. Then Seraphine pulled the cloak around her shoulders and slipped out into the night. The forest swallowed her immediately. Shadows and moonlight and the scent of pine. She found the North Trail marker easily. And there, just as Bryn had promised, stood a grey mare with kind eyes and a patient temperament. Hey Mist, Seraphine whispered, stroking the horse's neck. Ready for an adventure? She pulled herself into the saddle. The mare shifted but didn't protest. Good. They'd need to move fast. With one last look at Shadow Pine Lodge, at the prison she'd barely escaped, Seraphine turned the horse north and kicked her into motion. They ran. Through trees and over streams and across meadows painted silver by moonlight. Seraphine leaned low over Mist's neck, letting the horse find the path. Trusting her instincts. Hours passed. Or maybe minutes. Time lost meaning when every second counted. When any moment could bring pursuit. But the forest stayed quiet behind them. No howls. No sounds of wolves giving chase. Maybe they hadn't discovered her absence yet. Maybe Bryn's sleeping draught had been stronger than expected. Maybe the moon goddess herself was protecting this escape. Dawn broke cold and grey. Seraphine pulled Mist to a stop at the edge of a river. Wide and fast-moving, the water churned white over rocks and fallen trees. This had to be it. The border marker Bryn had mentioned. She dismounted and let Mist drink. Her legs were shaking from the long ride, her hands cramped from gripping the reins. But she couldn't stop yet. Couldn't rest until she crossed into Ironridge. A sound made her freeze. Footsteps. Coming from the south. From Shadowpine. They'd found her. She grabbed Mist's reins and prepared to mount, to run again. But the figure that emerged from the trees wasn't Davienne or Garrett or any Shadowpine wolf. It was Malric. He stood on the opposite bank of the river, his chest heaving like he'd run all night. Like he'd felt her fear through the bond and come immediately. Grey eyes locked on hers with an intensity that stole her breath. Seraphine. Just her name. But it held everything. Relief. Joy. Desperation. She didn't remember crossing the river. Didn't remember anything between seeing him and being in his arms. But suddenly she was there. Pressed against his chest. His arms wrapped around her so tight she could barely breathe. I felt you, he murmured into her hair. Through the bond. Your fear. Your determination. I knew you were running, so I came. I've been searching since midnight. They were going to bind me. Use blood magic to force the bond with Davienne. To make me stay. The words tumbled out in a rush. I had to run. I had to get out before. Shoo. You're safe now. You're safe. He pulled back just enough to cup her face in his hands. To look at her like she was the most precious thing he'd ever seen. You're on Ironridge land now. They can't touch you here. They'll come after me. They'll say I broke the agreement. Let them come. His voice went hard. Let them try to take you. They'll learn very quickly why Ironridge has held these mountains for 3 generations. She laughed. It came out shaky and half-broken. You'd go to war for me? I'd burn the world for you. He said it simply. Factually. Don't you know that by now? The bond between them blazed. Full strength now that they were close again. She felt his love through it. His absolute certainty that she belonged with him. To him. And goddess help her, she felt the same. I'm sorry, she whispered. For doubting this. For being afraid. For. He kissed her. Soft and gentle and absolutely devastating. A kiss that tasted like coming home. Like finding something she'd been searching for her entire life without knowing it. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, he rested his forehead against hers. No more running. No more hiding. You're mine and I'm yours, and that's all that matters. What about the council? The mediation period? The treaties? Fuck the treaties. He grinned, wild and fierce. You chose to leave. You crossed the border of your own free will. That makes you a free wolf. And as a free wolf on Ironridge territory, you're under my protection. Under my law. Shadowpine has no claim. They'll argue. Let them argue. I have the best legal minds in the territory. We'll bury them in paperwork and precedent and technicalities until they give up. And if they don't give up. His eyes gleamed. Then we'll handle it another way. Behind them, more sounds. Voices. Reed emerged from the trees with 4 other Ironridge wolves. They carried weapons and wore expressions of grim readiness. Any sign of pursuit? Malric asked without looking away from Seraphine. Nothing yet, Reed replied. But they'll come. Once they realize she's gone. Good. Let them come. Let them see exactly what happens when they threaten what's mine. Malric finally released Seraphine, but kept one hand on her waist. Anchoring her. Reed, take 3 wolves and patrol the border. Anyone crosses without permission, you stop them. Non-lethally if possible. But stop them. Understood. Reed moved off, already issuing orders to the others. Malric turned back to Seraphine. Can you ride a bit further? Back to the lodge? Or do you need to rest? I can ride. Mist is strong. She brought me this far. Good horse. He stroked the mare's neck appreciatively. We'll make sure she's well taken care of. They rode back together, Malric on a massive black stallion that matched his intensity. The journey felt different from her desperate midnight flight. Safer. Purposeful. Like she was moving toward something instead of running away. The lodge appeared through the trees, and Seraphine felt emotion well up in her throat. Home. This place had become home in the span of days. Had offered her more kindness than Shadowpine had in years. Iris met them at the entrance, relief written across her features. Thank the goddess. When Malric left in the middle of the night, when he said you were in danger, I thought, she pulled Seraphine into a hug. Never mind what I thought. You're here. You're safe. That's all that matters. I need to debrief with the council, Malric said. Update them on the situation. Iris, can you? I'll take care of her. Go do your alpha things. Iris shooed him away and led Seraphine inside. But before he left, Malric caught Seraphine's hand. Brought it to his lips. I'll come find you when I'm done. We have a lot to talk about. I'll be here. She smiled. I'm not going anywhere. The promise in those words settled over both of them. A vow. A commitment. He left reluctantly, and Iris guided Seraphine to a different room. Larger than the last one. With windows that overlooked the lake and a bed big enough for two. This is... Seraphine trailed off, not sure how to finish the sentence. The Luna's quarters. Iris smiled knowingly. Malric had them prepared 3 days ago. Right after you left for Shadowpine. He said when you came back, when you chose to come back, he wanted you to have a proper place. Not a guest room. A home. Tears burned behind Seraphine's eyes. He was that certain I'd come back? He was that certain he'd find a way to bring you back. One way or another. Iris moved to the windows and opened them, letting in fresh air. That man has been half mad with worry. Barely slept. Barely ate. Just planned and prepared and waited for the moment you'd need him. I don't deserve him. Maybe not. But that's not how love works, is it? It's not about deserving. It's about choosing. And he chose you. Just like you chose him. Seraphine sank onto the bed, suddenly exhausted. The adrenaline that had carried her through the night drained away, leaving her hollow and shaking. Iris brought her food and tea. Made her eat even though she wanted nothing more than to sleep. You need your strength. The next few days will be difficult. Shadowpine won't take this lying down. What will they do? Probably send envoys. Make demands. Threaten legal action. But Malric is prepared for all of it. And you're not alone anymore. You have a whole pack behind you now. The words settled over Seraphine like a blanket. A pack. Not just Malric. But Iris and Reed and Marin and even Bryn, back in Shadowpine, who'd risked everything to help her escape. She wasn't alone. Sleep claimed her quickly once Iris left. Deep and dreamless. The kind of sleep that came from safety. From knowing you were protected. When she woke, the room was dark except for firelight. And Malric sat in a chair beside the bed, watching her with an expression so tender it made her chest ache. How long was I asleep? She asked, her voice rough. 6 hours. It's evening now. He moved to the bed, sat on the edge. How do you feel? Tired. Overwhelmed. Grateful. She reached for his hand. Thank you. For coming for me. For believing I'd try to escape. I didn't just believe it. I knew it. The bond told me. He threaded his fingers through hers. When you were in danger, when that bastard grabbed your arm, I felt it. Felt your fear and anger. And I knew I had to get to the border. Had to be there when you crossed. The bond is strong now. Stronger than before. Because you chose it. Fully. Consciously. You could have stayed in Shadowpine. Could have accepted their binding ritual. But you ran. You chose freedom. Chose me. His voice roughened. Do you have any idea what that means to me? Show me. The words came out before she could think about them. But she didn't take them back. Didn't want to. His eyes darkened. Seraphine. I'm sure. I've never been more sure of anything. She sat up, the blanket falling away. I want this. Want you. Want us. He cupped her face in his hands, his touch reverent. If we do this, if we complete the bond, there's no going back. You'll be mine. Officially. Permanently. Good. Because you're mine too. Officially. Permanently. He kissed her then. Deep and claiming and absolutely perfect. The bond between them sang, a harmonic chord that resonated through every cell in her body. When they finally broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. I love you. I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But I love you. I love you too. The words felt right. True. Like they'd been waiting her entire life to be spoken. I think I started loving you the moment you found me in the rain. Then I've been loving you longer. I started the moment I saw you fall in the mud and try to pretend you weren't bleeding. She laughed. Actual, genuine laughter. When was the last time she'd felt this light? This free? They stayed like that for a while. Wrapped in each other. Letting the bond settle and strengthen. Becoming something unbreakable. A knock at the door interrupted them. Reed's voice, apologetic. Sorry to intrude, but we have a situation. Malric sighed. What kind of situation? Shadowpine sent an envoy. They're at the border demanding Seraphine's return. Garrett himself is there with 10 warriors. The warmth in the room evaporated. Malric stood, his expression going hard. Tell them I'll be there in 5 minutes. Wait. Seraphine grabbed his arm. I'm coming with you. No. You're staying here where it's safe. Malric, this is about me. I'm not hiding while you fight my battles. She stood, squared her shoulders. I ran from them once. I'm not running anymore. If Garrett wants to make demands, he can make them to my face. Seraphine. She's right. Reed's voice came from the doorway. If she hides, it makes her look guilty. Like she knows she did something wrong. But if she faces them, stands beside you as your mate, it sends a message. That she chose to leave. That she belongs here now. Malric's jaw tightened. She could feel his reluctance through the bond. His instinct to protect warring with the logic of Reed's words. I'll be fine, she said softly. I have you. I have the pack. And I have the truth on my side. He exhaled slowly. Fine. But you stay beside me. You don't engage directly. And if things escalate, if there's even a hint of violence, you get behind me immediately. Understood. Understood. They made their way through the lodge. Pack members watched them pass, their expressions ranging from curious to concerned. Word had spread fast. Everyone knew what was happening. Outside, night had fallen completely. Torches lit the path down to the border. A group of Iron Ridge wolves had already gathered, forming a defensive line. Warriors mostly, but Seraphine spotted Iris and Marin among them. The whole pack standing united. The walk to the border felt endless. Each step brought them closer to confrontation. To a moment that could define everything that came after. They crested a hill and the border came into view. On the Shadowpine side, illuminated by their own torches, stood Garrett with 10 warriors. Just as Reed had said. But there was someone else too. A figure in dark robes. Octavia. The healer. They brought the blood mage, Reed muttered. This is bad. It's an intimidation tactic, Malric replied. They're trying to scare us into compliance. It won't work. They reached the border. The two groups faced each other across the invisible line that separated their territories. The air crackled with tension. Garrett stepped forward. His expression was cold. Controlled. Alpha Malric. We've come for what belongs to Shadowpine. Strange. I don't see any Shadowpine property on my land. Malric's tone was casual. Almost bored. Perhaps you've gotten lost? Don't play games. You know why we're here. Garrett's eyes shifted to Seraphine. She was under mediation. Under treaty protection. Her departure violates the agreement. She left of her own free will. That's not a violation. That's her exercising her rights as a free wolf. She was bound by the mediation terms. Those terms required her to remain in Shadowpine for 30 days. Terms she agreed to under duress. Under threat of political and legal action. Malric moved forward slightly, putting himself between Garrett and Seraphine. And those terms became null the moment you planned to use blood magic to bind her against her will. Silence. Garrett's expression flickered. Just for a moment. Surprise that they knew. I don't know what lies she's told you. Not lies. Facts. Seraphine stepped out from behind Malric. Ignored his warning growl. You brought Octavia to perform a binding ritual. To force the mate bond with Davienne using blood magic. Don't bother denying it. I know what ingredients she was gathering. Obsidian dust. Moonflower petals. Dragon's blood resin. Octavia's face went pale in the torchlight. Garrett recovered quickly. Those ingredients have multiple uses. Medical applications. You're making assumptions based on the fact that your son told me directly. Seraphine's voice rang clear. He said the binding ritual would happen in 2 days. That it would fix me. Make me remember who I belong to. His words. Not mine. Murmurs rippled through both groups. Blood magic was forbidden in most pack territories. Using it to force bonds was considered one of the highest violations of pack law. Even if that were true, Garrett said carefully, it doesn't give you the right to break the mediation agreement. You should have brought your concerns to the council. The council that you control? The council that would take days or weeks to convene while you completed the ritual. Seraphine shook her head. I had one choice. Leave or lose myself completely. So I left. And I'm not going back. You don't get to make that decision. The mediation period is over. Malric's voice cut through like steel. She invoked her right as a free wolf to seek sanctuary. The moment she crossed into Iron Ridge territory of her own volition, she fell under my protection. Your claim is void. That's not how pack law works. Actually, it is. Code 47, subsection 3 of the Treaty of Territories. Any wolf who crosses into another pack's land seeking protection from persecution, abuse, or magical coercion is granted immediate sanctuary. The receiving alpha has full discretion to grant or deny that sanctuary. Malric smiled coldly. I grant it. Seraphine is under Iron Ridge protection. Permanently. Garrett's composure cracked. You're making a mistake. Shadowpine has allies. Resources. Political power that Iron Ridge can't match. If you insist on keeping her, you'll make enemies of more than just us. Then I'll make enemies. I've made them before. Malric stepped forward until he was right at the borderline. But let me make something crystal clear. Seraphine isn't property. She isn't a bargaining chip. She's my mate. Claimed and bonded. And if you or anyone else tries to take her from me, I will personally ensure that Shadowpine becomes a cautionary tale about what happens when you threaten what's mine. The threat hung in the air. Absolute. Undeniable. Garrett stared at him for a long moment. Then his gaze shifted to Seraphine. Is this really what you want? To abandon your pack? Your history? Everything you've known? Shadowpine abandoned me first, she said quietly. The moment I couldn't give you what you needed. The moment I became inconvenient. You don't get to pretend you care now just because circumstances changed. What about Davienne? He's your mate. Your true mate. The Moon Goddess. The Moon Goddess brought me here. To Malric. To Iron Ridge. She moved to stand beside Malric. Took his hand in hers. This is where I belong. This is my home. And Davienne. She paused. Davienne was a mistake I've finally corrected. Something moved in the shadows behind Garrett. Seraphine caught a glimpse of sandy hair. Familiar features twisted with rage. Davienne burst forward before anyone could stop him. Shifted mid-stride. His wolf was large, brown with darker markings. Teeth bared. Eyes locked on Seraphine. He leaped. Malric moved faster. Shifted in a blur of motion. His wolf was massive, black as midnight with silver along his spine. He intercepted Davienne mid-air. The two wolves collided with a sound like thunder. Chaos erupted. Shadowpine warriors surged forward. Iron Ridge wolves met them at the border. But no one crossed. Not yet. Both sides held the line while their alphas fought. Malric was bigger, stronger. But Davienne fought with desperate fury. They tore at each other. Blood splattered the ground. Snarls and growls filled the night air. Seraphine watched, horror and pride warring in her chest. The bond screamed at her to help, to do something. But she knew better. This was alpha business. Interference would only make things worse. Malric got Davienne by the throat. Pinned him to the ground. One bite. That's all it would take. One bite and Davienne would be dead. But Malric didn't bite. He held Davienne there, teeth pressed against his throat. A warning. Not a killing blow. Submit, the posture said. Submit or die. Davienne thrashed. Fought. But Malric's grip was iron. Seconds stretched into minutes. Finally, Davienne went limp. Throat bared in the ultimate sign of submission. Malric held him there a moment longer, making sure the submission was real. Then he released him. Stepped back. Shifted back to human form, not bothering to hide his nakedness or the blood streaking his skin. That's twice I've shown mercy, he said, his voice deadly calm. Once by not taking your life. Once by not taking your throat. There won't be a third time. Touch her again. Threaten her again. Even think about her again. And I will end you. Slowly. Painfully. In ways that will make you beg for the mercy of death. Davienne shifted back, coughing and wheezing. Blood dripped from claw marks across his chest. She's mine. She was never yours. You rejected her. Remember. Malric moved to stand over him. And even if you hadn't, even if the bond was still intact, she would have left you eventually. Because you're weak. Not in body. In character. In honor. In everything that actually matters. He turned away from Davienne like he was nothing. Returned to Seraphine's side. Reed appeared with a cloak and Malric wrapped it around himself, never taking his eyes off Garrett. Take your wolves and go, Malric said. If I see any of you on Iron Ridge land again without explicit invitation, I'll consider it an act of war. And believe me when I say, Shadowpine doesn't want that war. Garrett's face was stone. But behind his eyes, calculation worked. Weighing options. Measuring costs. Finally, he nodded. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Malric's hand found Seraphine's. Take your wounded. Leave my territory. And pray I never hear the name Shadowpine cross my mate's lips again. Garrett gathered his wolves. Davienne limped to his feet, supported by 2 warriors. Octavia followed silently, her face carefully blank. They disappeared into the trees. Shadows swallowing them whole. The moment they were gone, the tension broke. Iron Ridge wolves began to disperse, heading back to the lodge. But Seraphine stood frozen, staring at the place where Davienne had vanished. Hey. Malric turned her to face him. It's over. You're safe. You could have killed him. Why didn't you? Because that would have made him a martyr. A victim. This way, he's just a defeated alpha's son who couldn't hold on to his mate. Who lost her to someone stronger. He cupped her face. And because I didn't need to kill him. You already defeated him when you chose to leave. She kissed him then. Hard and desperate and grateful. He kissed her back with equal intensity, the bond between them blazing so bright it was almost painful. When they broke apart, Reed was waiting a respectful distance away. The council wants to convene. Discuss the political ramifications of tonight. Tomorrow, Malric said without looking away from Seraphine. Tonight, I'm busy. Reed smiled. Understood. I'll handle the security rotations. They made their way back to the lodge slowly. Seraphine's legs felt shaky. Adrenaline crash hitting hard. Malric swept her up into his arms like she weighed nothing. I've got you. I can walk. I know. But let me have this. Let me take care of you. She relaxed against his chest. Let him carry her. Through the lodge. Past pack members who smiled or nodded. To the Luna's quarters that were now officially hers. He set her down gently on the bed. Moved to the fireplace and added logs until flames roared. The room filled with warmth and light. That was terrifying, she said quietly. Watching you fight. Knowing you could get hurt. I wasn't going to lose. Not with you watching. Not when I had something worth fighting for. He sat beside her. I've been in 100 fights. Led my pack through countless conflicts. But tonight was different. Tonight I fought for you. For us. And it made me stronger than I've ever been. What happens now? With Seraphine? With the council? Now we wait. Garrett will try to spin this his way. Paint you as unstable or me as an aggressor. But we have the truth on our side. And more importantly, we have each other. He took her hand. The council will investigate. Interview witnesses. Review the facts. And they'll rule in our favor because we didn't break any laws. We followed protocol. We did everything right. And if they don't rule in our favor? Then we deal with it. Together. He pulled her close. I meant what I said earlier. I'd burn the world for you. The council. The treaties. All of it. None of it matters more than you. She buried her face in his chest. Let his scent and warmth surround her. I love you. So much it scares me. Good. Because I love you so much it terrifies me. Guess we'll just have to be scared together. They stayed like that for a long time. Just holding each other. Letting the reality of what had happened sink in. She was free. Truly free. Not running. Not hiding. Just free. Eventually, exhaustion pulled at her. I should sleep. It's been a long day. It's been a long week. He kissed her forehead. Sleep. I'll be here when you wake up. Promise. Promise. She changed into sleep clothes while he added more wood to the fire. When she climbed into bed, he joined her. Fully clothed. Just there to provide comfort and safety. Malric. Yeah. Thank you. For everything. For believing me. For protecting me. For. Stop thanking me for treating you like you matter. That's just basic decency. He pulled her against his chest. Sleep, Seraphine. Tomorrow we start our actual life together. Tonight, just rest. She closed her eyes. The bond hummed contentedly between them. Steady and strong and absolutely certain. Sleep came easily. Deep and dreamless. The kind of sleep that comes from being exactly where you're supposed to be. When she woke, sun streamed through the windows. Malric was still there, watching her with soft eyes. Morning, he murmured. Morning. She stretched. How long have you been awake? A while. I was watching you sleep. Creepy, I know, but I wanted to make sure you were real. That this wasn't a dream. It's real. She touched his face. We're real. A knock at the door interrupted them. Iris's voice. Sorry to intrude, but there's news. The council sent an envoy. They'll be here by midday. Malric sat up. That was fast. Garrett must have sent word immediately after leaving. They're taking this seriously. Good. Let them take it seriously. He looked at Seraphine. Are you ready for this? For council scrutiny and questions and judgment. As long as you're beside me, I can handle anything. Then let's show them what a real Luna looks like. The council envoy arrived exactly at midday. 3 wolves in formal robes bearing the seal of the Territory Alliance. They were led by an older female with silver hair and eyes that missed nothing. Alpha Malric. I'm Elder Astrid, head of the council's mediation division. We've received a formal complaint from Seraphine regarding the wolf known as Seraphine Vale. I'm aware. Please, come in. We have nothing to hide. Malric gestured them inside. They assembled in the formal meeting hall. Malric sat at the head of the table with Seraphine beside him. Reed on his other side. The council members took seats across from them. Elder Astrid wasted no time. Seraphine claims you violated mediation terms by harboring a wolf who is legally required to remain in their territory. They're demanding her return and calling for sanctions against Ironridge for treaty violations. And we claim that Seraphine fled persecution and magical coercion. She sought sanctuary under Code 47, which I granted. Everything was done according to protocol. Malric's voice was steady. But if the council needs proof, we have witnesses. Testimony. Even physical evidence. What kind of physical evidence? Seraphine reached into her pocket and pulled out a small vial. Not the sleeping draught. Something else. This was given to me by a Shadowpine healer named Bryn. It contains traces of the ingredients that were being prepared for the binding ritual. Obsidian dust. Moonflower petals. Dragon's blood resin. All components of blood magic. She slid the vial across the table. Elder Astrid picked it up. Examined it. Her expression remained neutral, but Seraphine saw her eyes widen slightly. This is serious. Blood magic use is strictly forbidden. Shadowpine will deny it, one of the other council members said. They'll claim the ingredients were for medical purposes. Then test them. Have your own healers verify what they're actually for. Seraphine leaned forward. And interview Bryn. She's the one who warned me. Who helped me escape. She can confirm everything. If she's willing to testify against her own pack, her own alpha, that's significant. Elder Astrid set the vial down carefully. We'll need to investigate thoroughly. Interview all parties. Review the evidence. Take all the time you need, Malric said. We have nothing to hide. And Seraphine isn't going anywhere. There's another matter. Elder Astrid's gaze shifted to Seraphine. You and Alpha Malric. Shadowpine claims you formed a new bond. Is this true? Yes. That's unusual. A new bond forming so quickly after ejection. Some might say suspiciously quick. Some might also say the moon goddess works in mysterious ways. Seraphine reached for Malric's hand. I didn't plan this. Neither of us did. But the bond is real. As real as the one I had with Davien. Maybe more so. Elder Astrid studied them. Seraphine could feel her weighing. Measuring. Looking for deception. Finally, she nodded. Very well. We'll conduct our investigation. In the meantime, Seraphine, you're free to remain in Iron Ridge territory. But I strongly suggest you don't leave until this matter is resolved. The situation is volatile. Understood. The council members stood. We'll be in touch. Expect our decision within 2 weeks. After they left, Seraphine sagged in her chair. 2 weeks. 2 weeks of waiting to find out if I'm free or if they'll force me back. They won't force you back. I won't allow it. Malric pulled her to her feet. But for now, let's focus on living. On building our life together. The council will rule fairly. And if they don't, we'll handle it. You keep saying that. We'll handle it. But what does that actually mean? It means I'll fight for you. Every day. Every way I know how. Legal. Political. Physical if necessary. He pulled her close. You're not alone anymore. You have me. You have this pack. You have a family that actually values you. Tears burned, but she blinked them back. I'm not used to this. People fighting for me. Believing in me. Get used to it. Because I'm not going anywhere. The days that followed were strange. Peaceful but tense. Waiting for the council's ruling while trying to build a normal life. Seraphine spent her mornings helping in the kitchen. Her afternoons exploring the territory with Iris or Marin. Her evenings with Malric, learning what it meant to be loved without conditions. Bryn sent word through a neutral courier. She'd been interviewed by the council. Had confirmed everything about the blood magic preparations. Garrett had tried to discredit her, but the physical evidence was damning. She's brave, Seraphine said when Malric told her. Testifying like that. She'll face consequences. Probably. But she chose truth over comfort. That takes real courage. 2 weeks turned into 10 days. Then a week. Then finally, a rider bearing the council's seal arrived. They gathered in the meeting hall again. Malric. Reed. Iris. Every senior pack member who could fit. This ruling would affect all of them. The messenger unrolled an official scroll. Began to read. After thorough investigation and review of all evidence and testimony, the Council of Territories has reached the following conclusions. 1. The The blood magic preparations in Shadowpine have been confirmed. Alpha Garrett and Healer Octavia will face formal charges of attempting magical coercion. 2. The mediation agreement was rendered void the moment blood magic entered the equation. Seraphine Vale had every right to seek sanctuary. 3. The bond between Seraphine Vale and Alpha Malric has been verified as genuine and blessed by the Moon Goddess. 4. All claims by Shadowpine Pack are dismissed. Seraphine Vale is hereby declared a free wolf under Iron Ridge protection. Silence. Then cheering. Pack members embraced. Celebrated. The ruling meant safety. Meant legitimacy. Seraphine couldn't move. Couldn't process. Free. She was actually free. Malric pulled her into his arms. It's over. You're safe. You're home. Home, she repeated, testing the word. It felt right. Complete. What about Shadowpine? Reed asked. What are the penalties for the blood magic? Garrett will be stripped of one territory border. Required to pay reparations. Undergo council oversight for 5 years. The messenger read from the scroll. And Davien Thorne is banned from seeking a mate bond for 2 years as punishment for his role in the coercion attempt. Good, Malric said simply. They got off light if you ask me. The messenger left. The celebration continued. But Seraphine slipped away. Needed air. Needed to process. She found herself at the lake. The place where everything had changed. Where Malric had found her that first night back from Shadowpine. Where she'd first felt the bond snap into place. Footsteps behind her. She knew without looking it was him. You okay? He sat beside her on the familiar rock. I'm free. Actually, officially free. I'm still trying to believe it. Believe it. The council has spoken. Shadowpine has no claim. You're Iron Ridge now. You're mine. He took her hand. If you want to be. If I want to be? She laughed. Malric, I've wanted to be yours from the moment you showed me I was worth wanting. I just couldn't admit it because I was afraid. And now? Now I'm still afraid. But I'm more afraid of living without you. Of going back to being that broken thing who thought she deserved nothing. She turned to face him fully. You showed me I deserve love. Respect. A partner who sees me as a person, not a tool. And I want that. Want you. Want this life we're building. He kissed her. Slow and sweet and full of promise. Then it's yours. All of it. Me. The pack. This territory. Everything I have is yours. I don't need everything. Just you. Too bad. You're getting everything anyway. He stood. Pulled her to her feet. Come on. We have a celebration to get back to. Your first official day as Luna of Iron Ridge. Can't miss that. They walked back to the lodge hand in hand. The setting sun painted everything gold. Pack members called out greetings as they passed. Warm. Genuine. Accepting. This was her life now. Her pack. Her home. And standing beside her, solid and certain, was her mate. Her alpha. Her love. The curse she'd thought defined her, the infertility that had broken everything, no longer mattered. Because she'd found something more valuable than children or bloodlines or perfect futures. She'd found herself. And in finding herself, she'd found him. The Moon Goddess truly did work in mysterious ways. Through pain and rejection. Through storms and desperate flights. Through every twist and turn that had led her here. To this moment. This place. This love. She looked up at Malric. He smiled down at her. And in that smile, she saw her entire future. Full of challenges, yes. Full of uncertainty, probably. But also full of love. Support. Partnership. Everything she'd ever wanted. Everything she deserved. Ready, Luna? He asked. She squeezed his hand. Ready, Alpha. Together, they stepped into the lodge. Into their future. Into the life they'd fought for. And lived happily ever after. The end.